Alright, turbocharger troubleshooting. In general, more than 50% of the turbocharger failures are caused conditions external to the turbocharger. If these conditions are not correct, the replacement of the turbocharger must also fail for a very short time. In other cases, the engine problems attributed to the failure of the turbocharger. Well, in fact, nothing is wrong with the turbocharger. Therefore, the troubleshooting of the turbocharger requires two decisions. Whether or not the turbocharger has actually failed requires replacement of the actual cause of the failure. The turbocharger suspected being defective should be inspected for the various for obvious damage of the entire housing should be inspected for the cranks or the oil leaks. Some oil leaks can be repaired merely by tightening a pipe plug with applying cylindrical rubber sealant must be intolerable to leak of the crack for the accessible area required for the turbocharger change out. Inspection before engine start. The impeller inspection. Impellers should be made on all turbochargers suspected on the failure, except for those suspected with the exhaust gas leaks. Remove the rubber air intake of the boot and flange. Inspect the impeller with the broken naked veins, the invisible sign of the rubbing on unit. Exchange with the turbocharger. Do not confuse the smooth blends and improper surface on the vein with a sharp and cause of the foreign material. Turn improperly by the hand with the check with the locked up with the condition badly damaged clutch. Engine should be turned free with the counterclockwise direction, but engage with the turn clockwise. Display with the impeller laterally vertically forward after determining excessive radial end of the thrust clearance. Inspect the clearance between the impeller with the cover of the revalve and impeller contact. Any defective condition found during the inspection to require turbocharger replacement. If no defective condition is found, reinstall the flange and boot. Alright, engine inspections. Often reported turbocharger failure is actually a failure of some other engine component of the engine. Should be powered over to determine if there is a damage before starting an attempt is made and the inspection is continued. Inspections are after the engine. Turbocharger report making unusual noise. Indicating identical turbocharger components can be varied. Sound due to tolerance which match where the components are manufactured. Some of these individual sounds result in a wide range of noise such as the whipping, chirping, singing, or humming. A different sound in a turbocharger is not necessary. The effect of obvious exemptions or service humming or loud screeches or distorted metal associated with the gear figures and failures and bearing failures. Normally, these noises are accompanied with a visual defect, damage, leaving little or doubt about the failure. When a turbocharger is reported to become defective because of the noise, the following should be performed. Inspect the impeller of the outline above. Remove the handle, cover the track with the metallic debris with the crankshaft gear, select the debris that indicate the gear train problem. Turbocharger reported throwing oil out of the exhaust stack. Inspect the exhaust stack to ensure the oil is actually coming out of the exhaust stack. Plug leaking. Turbocharger seal cannot be found with external inspection, so it must be determine the process of elimination. Only no further faulty condition is discovered. Shut down the engine down. Remove the expansion joint, turbocharger exhaust inlet screen with the engine. Varnish oil the heavy carbon with the turbo on the screen. Indicate the oil is not coming from the turbocharger but from the engine. Inspect with the black air filter for the remove the paper fiberglass elements. If necessary, clean the oil bath that filters a portion of the turbocharger. Check the airbox leaks, especially with the turbocharger discharge scroll gasket in the airbox. Cover the check with the pressure drop after the aftercooler is corrected if necessary. Check the exhaust leak manifold expansion joint. Check the leak of the gas of the leaking pipe plug on the top of the turbocharger exhaust inlet scroll. A low pressure of the reading can occur with the clutch in extremely bad condition, so that it will slip with the turbocharger even with the gear train of the condition may cause the before starting as well with the smoking and burping. Take the step off the rubber boot with a clear of the area around the turbocharger inlet with all the foreign material that observe the impeller while attempting to start the engine and badly damaged clutch will slip consistently. If the pressure reading taken until the end of the inspection reference or unit are equal, the defined malfunction of the problem that may be slipping the turbocharger clip with some external malfunction, usually a malfunction clip that is slip only with the intermittent therefore only occasional causing burping, smoking by its failure to engage failed clutch require the turbocharger and change out idle the engine. Operate the injector manual control level to increase the engine speed at 700 RPM with the pull manual over the control level with no fuel position. The action will allow the turbocharger to spin free of the deceleration and to disengage the clutch. When the engine has almost stopped, return the injector manual to the control lever to the idle position. The engine will accelerate, but the clutch should engage. Repeat the procedure until the clutch fails to engage. The worn clutch may fail to engage only once as many as 30 attempts. When it fails to engage, the injector brass will move the forward toward full fuel position. The engine will produce heavy black smoke. The rumbling noise may come from the engine. Alright, turbocharger exhaust leak reported. Start the engine, determine if the actual leak in the exhaust of some of the turbocharger looks sooty because of the exhaust leak with expansion joint of the manifold gas. The turbocharger exhaust leaks occur with the cracks in the manifold inlet screens or sailing areas on either side of the exhaust duct with the tabs so the leaks can be repaired with the fuel of the required turbocharger changeout. Failure prevention and turbocharger failure that has been verified are very important to determine the cause of the failure with the take of the preventive measures to ensure the replacement turbocharger will not fail while the turbocharger is removed from the engine. thoroughly inspect all the opening areas, impeller exhaust duct, inlet scrolls, nozzles, turbine blades, gear train. Also inspect the debris with both turbo oil drain passages. Any sign of indication failure would cause any of the external sources should be investigated. Corrective action taken before the unit is returned to service. The following paragraphs listen some of the failures. Foreign material damage in the impeller. Failure to figures 15-16 usually results from one of the following: previous turbocharger failure. When the turbocharger operating pieces are broken off the impeller with the force of drive of the piece of the air filter later, they may be pulled loose. Damage of the new impeller with a misapplication of the compressor of the inlet boot with the boot travel to the clamp may enter the impeller to destroy it. Loose material, air filter housing material left in the housing can enter the impeller. Impeller damaged by foreign material and nicked blades. If an impeller is rubbed over the cover of the other has broken out of the air filter housing duct, the filter should be inspected. Paper, fiberglass elements should be scrapped, and the inspection reveals aluminum in the air duct, filter housing, or in the filters. Our turbocharging rotating assembly slows down during the failure. A piece of the impeller may enter the air with the duct with the damaged aftercooler. The aftercooler air could be inspected for the following damage to the impeller. In many cases, the rubbing and loss of the piece of the impeller caused by an unbalanced condition within the turbocharger. Therefore, the turbocharger should be inspected for other defects which cause the unbalance of the impeller, rubbing or lost pieces with found foreign material with the damage of the turbine blades. Foreign material damage can be found in inspection blades, the nozzle with the detail of the section under the turbocharger reported burping and smoking excessively. The nozzle may be dense with closed, but at times the larger piece of the foreign model material may be stuck in them. If rotating assembly is not frozen, inspect the leading edges of all the blades. Turning of the impeller, the leading edge of the sum of all of the blades will be nicked out, and in some cases the blade with the brake out with the neck of the figure 15-17, the brake mechanical breakup at any port of the power assembly with the exhaust system may result in foreign material damage of the turbine blade with the nozzle. The most common source of the broken exhaust valve, the broken piston ring, the turbocharger protected with the material with the inlet screen. But the screen is not 100% effective to the skin, since it's designed to pass a large volume of the air while inducing only a small drop of the pressure of the however the top of the hold must be a piece of the equipment of the material. This material must be removed at the earliest opportunity. Will break down and pass through the screen, causing the turbine blade damage. Newly designed screen traps over the bottom of the now available traps collect the foreign material that prevents it from continuously hitting the screen, breaking up the entire turbocharger, and breaking up and entering the turbocharger. The screen assembly is now applied with the new engines as available to Electric Motor Parts Center. Failures can be reduced. Perform preventive maintenance. Failure to improve the cooling ring damage. Top ring side clearance measurement can be used as a method to determine if the ring and then entering a dangerous stage. Prevent valve blow for the progressing valve with a breakage. Maintain the valve injector timing specified engine maintenance manual. Determine if power assembly exhaust system paces is missing and locating, removing them from the exhaust system. Alright, your overheat and overspeed. Overheat and overspeed are most destructive, costly type of the failure may result with almost total destruction of the turbocharger since it is caused the excessive heat with the auxiliary exhaust system and the increased turbine. While speed is unacceptable level, the only cure is to remove the source of the heat injury. Overheat, speed, and failure can be recognized. The turbine blades are stretched and rubbed and shrouded. Some of the blades that maybe have pulled off and turbocharger is frozen, but the impeller cannot be rotated. Therefore, only in limited values of blades are shown in figure 15-18. Stretch blades and have rubbed the shroud, viewing down the exhaust duct. The exhaust diffuser may be warped and shrouded, maybe the bulge both may be torn with the broken blades, figure 15-19, 15-20. Or an impeller rubs the cover of the overheat with the overspeed condition that may result with the bearing of the failure to allow the impeller to move forward. The unbalanced condition may occur when the blades are pulled apart. Unusual source of the excessive heat are the airbox fire. The white ash should be visible in the inner airbox stress plates and the end plates for the aligners. Paint the handhold covers may be blistered and cleaned if necessary. In condition, increase the airbox and temperature. The temperature amount with the deposit formation airbox should be corrected. These conditions are dirty aftercoolers, broken compressor rings. 15-19 show the view down with exhaust tap warp diffuser, and then 15-20 show the view down exhaust stack of the warp diffuser damage of broken blades. Late injector timing. D, incorrect valve timing. E, plug turbocharger exhaust inlet screen. F, plugged air filters, other restriction air intake. 2, damage injectors. 3, broken valve sometimes causing damage injectors. Mistimed engine valve and injectors. 5, exhaust manifold fire. 6, excessive electrical overload. Alright, your bearing failure. Bearing failure is characterized by heavy rubbing the impeller vanes, excessive rotor end thrust, possible excessive up and down play on the rotor bearings, no sign of the turbo overheating, overspeed, foreign material damage. Some of the bearing failures are avoidable. Starting out the stop of the engine with no turbo lube pump oil flow can cause a result of the bearing failure. The turbo lube oil pump provides oil turbochargers a hydrodynamic bearing of the engine start. At the stop at the engine start, the oil lubricates the bearing. After the engine shut down, the oil cools the bearing and protects the against residual heat with the turbocharger. Scheduled monthly inspection should be include the visual inspection of the rear oil pan hand cover with the verify oil flow with the down gear travel after the engine is shut down, and a check with the top deck should also be made with the ensure the oil is not flowing from the camshaft bearings, indicating an inoperative check valve that is allowing oil for the turbo lube pump to backflash with the turbocharged filter and the engine bearings. Also, when the engine is shut down, any battery switch fuse circuit breaker that deactivates the turbo lube pump must be remain closed until the bearing has cooled. Bearing failures can also occur during the turbocharger housing distortion, misalignment of the aftercooler air ducts. The procedure outlined with the engine maintenance manual with installing the air ducts. Gear train failure. The turbocharger gear train damage is evident with the following. They should be performed. Check of the debris with the lube oil system, oil pans, train, and filters. Inspect the timing gear with the housing of the debris. Inspect the entire engine gear train to determine the gears and replacement for the engine's ring drive or gears. Gears retaining bolts to be checked with the tightness guard. Any of the loosening bolts or any new bolt. The bolts holding turbocharged drivers gears to the spider should be 1¼ inch long with a hardened washer with between the gear and bolt heads. Or exhaust leak. Improper application lifting chains allowing them to pressure and press against the exhaust duct with the turbocharger suspending can leave the bending of the lap of the joint. Excessive dust in compressor ring bearing supply of the only joint is performed permanent exhaust leak and may result. Alright, that was your turbocharger troubleshooting, and this has been the Section 15 troubleshooting of the Electric Motor Manual Division Engine Maintenance Manual. Section 15 troubleshooting.